All right, so now we're going to explore the order of conditionals. So first thing you need to do is copy and paste this code, which should be in the lesson, and put it into a file in your level 2 folder. And let's try playing around with some different battery power values and see if we can figure out what the issue is with this program. It will run, it just won't run and give us the outputs or the values we would expect. So play around with some different battery power values and let's see what we get. All right, now that we've played around with some different values, let's run the normal. Battery power is 50. What we see is that we get battery as normal, which we would expect. It's not less than 40, it's not less than 20. Let's change it to 35. Now that we've changed it to 35, when we run it, we get battery is getting low. Makes sense. 35 is less than 40. It's also greater than 20. So in that case, we would execute this first if here. Now let's change it to 15. If we change it to 15 and run it, we still get batteries getting low. Here's where our issue is. So what happened here is that this first if tested true. Battery power is less than 40, 15 is less than 40. So it printed this statement. And then because this is all one big conditional, it skipped the remainder. So it doesn't do the rest of this because this is all one conditional. And conditionals will only have one individual output. Whichever one of these tests correctly is the one that will get output. So that's the nice thing about it, but on the other side, it makes it a little more difficult sometimes if we have these things out of order. So pause the video for a second and think about how can we fix this so that it does output the correct values the way we want them to. All right, so now that we've kind of thought about it a little bit, this is actually the correct way of doing it. So let's cut, that's Control X, and paste this in here. Now we're going to get an error. That's okay. What we're going to do is get rid of the else part of this. We're going to add it to this part here. So now what we see is we have battery power less than 20, battery power less than 40, and then else battery normal. So let's try our battery power of 15 again, see if we get battery level critical. And we in fact do get battery level critical, and that is because this one tested correctly and we got battery level critical. So it tested as true, we get that. Let's see what happens if we do 35. So we do 35 when we run it, battery is getting low, which is what we expect. Last one we'll do 50, battery normal, which is also what we expect. So typically when we're looking at values and we're comparing multiple different values in a single conditional, we want to make sure that we go from smallest to largest. This allows us to ensure that we always get the correct value. Now, oftentimes you may not even have the same variable being tested in different conditionals, but if you do, it's just important to typically go smallest to largest in this case. Now, there's something else we could do. If we get rid of the else here and just make it if, then that could also be a correction to it because now these are two completely separate conditionals. So lines 3 and 4 is one conditional, lines 5 through 8 are a completely separate conditional. So if we run battery power 15 here, what do we expect? Well, we expect this. Let's see what we get. We actually get two output values. So in this case, this is one complete conditional. It tests it. It's true, so it prints battery level critical. It then goes on to this, which is the next conditional, and it says is battery power less than 40? Well, yes, it is. So we get battery is getting low as well. So something important to keep in mind that if you can have a single if conditional, and if you have another if right after it, it's going to test those as if they're two completely different conditionals because they are. So you just want to make sure that if you're include an else if, you remember that these are all now one conditional, one big conditional. So now we have a good understanding of that, let's look at some examples of how we can actually play around with the order of conditionals.